Mr. Trump, I want to follow up on the quote that Senator Cruz used. You said you would want to be, quote, sort of a neutral guy. He did mention Taylor Force. He was a West Point graduate. He was a war hero. He was a Vanderbilt graduate student. He was killed in a Palestinian terror attack near Tel Aviv. Many others were killed. And the Israeli government says the Palestinian Authority is inciting this. Do you still want to stay neutral when the Palestinian Authority is inciting these attacks?
First of all, there's nobody on this stage that's more pro-Israel than I am. Okay? There's nobody. I am pro-Israel. I was the Grand Marshal not so long ago of the Israeli Day Parade down Fifth Avenue. I've made massive contributions to Israel. I have I have tremendous love for Israel. I happen to have a son-in-law and a daughter that are Jewish, okay? And 2 grandchildren that are Jewish. But I will tell you, I think if we're going to ever negotiate a peace settlement, which every Israeli wants, and I've spoken to the toughest and the sharpest, they all want peace, I think it would be much more helpful. I'm a negotiator. If I go in, I'll say I'm pro-Israel, and I've told that to everybody and anybody that would listen. But I would like to at least have the other side think I'm somewhat neutral as to them so that we can maybe get a deal done. Maybe we can get a deal. I think it's probably the toughest negotiation of all time, but maybe we can get a deal done.
Senator
As far
Cruz,
as, and by the way, just so you understand, as far as Iran, I would have never made that deal. I think it's maybe the worst deal I've ever seen. I think it's the worst deal I've ever seen negotiated. I will be so tough on them, and ultimately that deal will be broken unless they behave better than they've ever behaved in their lives, which is probably unlikely.
Senator Cruz and Senator Rubio.
You know, we need a president who understands the national security interest of this country. The reason we are friends and allies with Israel is they are a liberal democratic country that share our values. They're our strongest ally in the region. We get billions in intelligence resources, billions in military resources. And the Palestinian Authority that Donald, along with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, say they want to treat neutrally the same as Israel. The Palestinian Authority is in a unity government with Hamas, a terrorist organization. They pay the families of these terrorists who murder people. And this is exactly the moral relativism Barack Obama has. And the answer is not scream all Muslims bad. Let me give you an example of a Muslim, for example, we ought to be standing with. President al-Sisi of Egypt, a president of a Muslim country who is targeting radical Islamic terrorists. He's hunting them down and stopping them. Our focus needs to be on keeping this country safe.
I want to go back to the Israeli government's assertion that the Palestinian Authority is inciting the convulsion of violence. Do you agree?
Well, that's undeniable. First of all, they've said they've encouraged people to do so. And you've seen the speeches of the Palestinian Authority president talking about how glorious this is that they're doing these sorts of things. But let me go back for a moment. The policy Donald has outlined, I don't know if he realizes, is an anti-Israeli policy. Maybe that's not your intent, but here's why it is an anti-Israeli policy. There is no peace deal possible with the Palestinians at this moment. There just isn't, because there's no one to negotiate with. The Palestinian Authority is not interested in a serious deal, and they are now in union with Hamas, an organization whose specific purpose is the destruction of the Jewish state. Every time that Israel has turned over territory of any kind, be it Gaza or now in Judea and Samaria, it is used as a launching pad to attack Israel. And that's what will happen again. These groups are not interested in a deal with Israel. What they are interested in is ultimately removing the Jewish state and occupying its entire territory. So maybe in 30 years the conditions will exist, but they do not exist now. And to have a president forcing the Israelis to the table is harmful to Israel and emboldens Israel's enemies.
Mr. Trump, a response, and we'll go to Governor Fish.
If I become president of the United States, one of the things that will be an absolute priority is, number one, protection of Israel, but also seeing if a deal can be made. The toughest deal, the toughest negotiation there probably is of any kind, no matter where you look, no matter how hard you look. But I would like to give it a shot. Very, very pro-Israel, nobody more pro-Israel, but I would love to give it a shot. And I have to tell you this, I have friends, Israelis, non-Israelis, people from New York City that happen to be Jewish and love Israel. And some are very tough people. Every single one of them, they know it's tough, but every single one of them wants to see if we could ever have peace in Israel. And some believe it's possible. It may not be, in which case we'll find out. but it would be a priority if I become president to see
Governor
if I
Kasich,
can
do
do
you
it.
agree with the Israeli government that the Palestinian Authority is inciting this violence?
Well, there's no question. They were saying that the Israelis intended to go to the Dome of the Rock. And, I mean, when you think about this, thank goodness we worked with the Israelis to give them the Iron Dome. And, you know, where they could protect themselves against all the missiles that were flying in. Could you imagine living in, like in Miami here and have people shooting missiles in? Secondly, there was just an article the other day, Hugh, that I know you're familiar with, where the Israelis are learning to train underground in combat because the Palestinians now, Hamas in particular, is digging these tunnels trying to get under Israel. They're coming at them from above. They're trying to come at them from under the ground. And I just have to tell you this. I don't believe there is any long-term permanent peace solution, and I think pursuing that's the wrong thing to do. I believe that every day that we can have stability in that region by supporting the Israelis and making sure they have the weapons and the security that they need with our 100% backing is the way to proceed in the Middle East in regard to Israel.
Senator Cruz, I want to stay in the region. Just this week, the head of U.S. Central Command, General Lloyd Austin, essentially said it's going to take a lot more troops on the ground to end the ISIS threat in Syria and Iraq. From the beginning of this campaign, you have said you will follow the judgment of military commanders in the Pentagon. So here's a commander saying we need a lot more troops on the ground. Will you follow that advice and inject Americans again into what is, in essence, a metastasizing Sunni-Shia civil war?
We need to do whatever is necessary to utterly defeat ISIS.
Hi, everybody. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so I thought this clip of the debate, at the very least, a lot of the Mox News viewers would probably want to see. Because, you know, there's nothing that Americans want to see more than an Israeli dick-sucking contest between all of their presidential candidates, right? I thought it was disgusting for CNN to phrase this question in this way. American had been killed in Israel. And, you know, I mean, that's like saying an American was killed in Iraq or an American was killed in fucking Syria or Afghanistan. You know, and how about the Americans that were killed in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Syria? CNN doesn't seem to care about those Americans. What CNN cares about is pushing this agenda where we have a perfect right to commit genocide of the Palestinian people. There's every reason in the world that Israel should be allowed to steal all of the land from the Palestinian people and push them into the ocean where they can no longer, you know, breathe. Because we want that land. We want all that beachfront property. That belongs to Israel. We want the gas rights to all the natural gas reservoirs off the Gaza coast. That's why we're going to bomb the shit out of the people of Gaza until they go away, so that we can steal all that gas from them. Just like we've been stealing land from them for generations. And yet, oh, we have to rush to suck Israeli dick because they're the chosen people. You know, we got it, Marco. When you're president, which isn't happening, how about going back to work, Marco? How about putting your kids back in school instead of posing them as a prop in every fucking photo op that you can? Okay, how about, you know, doing the job that the American taxpayers, you know, the American taxpayers are going to be on the hook to this piece of shit, Marco Rubio, for the rest of his life. They're going to be paying him, you know, some kind of fucking retirement pay. And it's just disgusting forever. And he's just traveling around in five-star hotels talking about this fantasy world. When I'm president of the United States, everyone will be required to suck Israeli dick. Go back and do your job, Marco. Stop Get out of your fantasy world. Stop teaching your children that they can live in a fantasy world that exists only in your own mind. Okay, anyways, I thought you guys want to see this clip. The full debate is now available at the Alternate Mox News YouTube page. There's a clickable link right below this video. It says Alternate Mox News YouTube page. Click here. So please click that. Go check out the debate. It was, I don't know. I didn't think it was that great a debate. But, you know, the pundits, the talking heads all seem to think, oh, this was the most mature debate that we've had so far. I don't know that that makes it a good debate. I don't know that's the, you know, environment that you look for in a good debate. Look for something a little more fiery. I've been working really hard. This is my 4th debate in the last 8 days, plus Super Tuesday, plus voting on Saturday, Super Saturday, plus there's more voting coming up on Tuesday. I think there might be more voting on Saturday. I'm keeping very busy. It'd be very nice if someone would buy me lunch. I really appreciate it when you guys buy me lunch. I really like lunch. There's a clickable link to make it take like 2 minutes for you to buy me lunch. So if you'd like to buy me lunch, it would be very, very nice of you. So thanks very much for your continued support. You know, if you support this kind of free speech, if you want somebody who, you know, says what needs to be said, and then supports your right to say what it is you think needs to be said. Regardless if I agree with it or not, you have every right in the world to say what you want to say. I'm your guy. I've been your guy for 10 years now. So, you know, it'd be nice if people would buy me lunch. That's all I'm saying. All right, thanks very much for your continued support. One of these days, this war is going to end. Stay cool till that day.
Compassion stirred the Buddha to send his monks out into the community. Sworn to chastity and poverty, they wandered the roads, bringing the Buddha's teachings into the world. Go forth, monks, for the happiness of the many, out of compassion for the world. There are beings whose eyes have little dust on them, who will perish if they do not hear the teaching. But if they hear the teaching, they will gain liberation.
The monks exist by begging. We think of begging as kind of a bad thing. Begging in this tradition is a good thing. It's a sign of spiritual purity.
You're not allowed to beg tomorrow's lunch today. Only today's lunch. Then you can't eat from noon until dawn the next day. Then you have to go out and get another lunch. And then in exchange for lunch, you give a lecture. Unless they say we don't want to hear about it, then you don't. But that's the only thing but that forces you to interact with the lay community.
And if you're not serving them, if you're not doing something useful for them, they won't put anything in your bowl, and that will be the end of your community.